Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, everybody. Today I'm interviewing Psencik, a top producer, loan originator with Crosspoint Financial in Newport Beach, California, specializing in VA home loans. Welcome, Penny. Thank you very much for being here today.
Eric, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it and appreciate you reaching out to me.
Great. Before we get into VA loans, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in a very small town in Texas. One stoplight, 2,300 people, 65 people in my graduating class. And I know it's going to sound very cliche, but I figured out that there was other stuff going on out there besides this little small town in Texas. Went off to college. At 23, I opened my own bar with a couple of my buddies. We all kind of took out loans on our credit cards and made it work. After going through that for about 6 years on Austin 6th Street, we decided to part ways, and we sold the bar, and I decided that I was going to move to Newport Beach, California. I showed up here about 2002 when the mortgage industry and the subprime era was really taking over, and not knowing really what I wanted to do except live by the beach, I went down that path.
And then what led you to go into finance like you did? Did you know this was something you wanted to do, or did you just stumble into it?
No idea.
No.
Absolutely no idea that this was going to be my path, and I had no idea of the success I would have later. A friend of a friend said, "Hey, I run this mortgage company. I am the top producing sales team at a company called Solstice Capital, and why don't you come and sit with one of our loan officers and check it out and see what you think?" I had never owned a home. I had no idea about finance. I was a political science major in college and had been a bartender for a decade. So the only thing I was really sure of is I knew how to talk to people. And, sat there. I said, all right, let's give it a shot. And, immediately, even though it was rough in the subprime era, I had some success.
Good. Well, in retrospect, if you look at how you became such a successful agent, what personal attributes or traits or qualities contributed the most to your success, and how do you think you developed these over the years?
I think having an open mind and not prejudging anyone. That's probably the biggest thing in any environment where you're dealing with another group. You can't prejudge someone and determine what you know about them. So you kind of have to take everything at face value and not let your misconceptions get in the way. So I think I learned that being a bartender for a long time. I learned that being in my college fraternity. I learned that, excelling in high school all the way through. You kind of roll with the flow and see how it goes, and you learn to talk with different people from different backgrounds. And I think that, and I think work ethic. I've read countless times in different books, magazines, periodicals, whatever. It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. And to me, that's perfecting your craft. Anybody can, and everybody does, throw their legs over the bed in the morning, get ready to go and go to work. But do you work at work when you're there? And that's what I always say. Do you work at work? Or do you work at your career? And do you try to capitalize and make yourself better, every day by working at work? Because everybody can just go and show up.
I love that. And can you give some specific examples when your traits played a role towards your path of success?
Yeah, I can. I think my major reason for success is that even to this day, after doing this for the last 15 years, I'm still coachable. I think a lot of times people get into their routine and don't look at themselves and try to figure out how they can be better the next day. And I still take constructive criticism. I take it from my borrowers. I take it from the people I work with. If they hear me saying something that didn't quite sound right, I ask them to tell me. So that being said, is I show up every day with wanting to improve me. So I'll tweak little things. You got to know how you do everything on a daily basis to a T before you can start tweaking things. It's kind of like a golf swing, right? If you try to change your grip and change your backswing and change everything else, you're going to end up changing too much. But if you change one little thing at a time and see how that affects the outcome, then you can consistently start tweaking your routine.
That's awesome advice. And with whenever we make changes, there's always adversity, there's always problems. And what are some of the major adversities or trials that you had to overcome to achieve your goals?
I think the biggest one in anybody in this industry is surviving the mortgage meltdown in the late 2000s. Everybody had a major crossroads at that point. You had to decide whether you were going to continue to do this or were you going to go back to selling used cars or whatever you were doing before. Because through that time of 2003 through 2007, anybody could go really and pick up the phone and make $100,000. It was that easy. Obviously looking back, hindsight, everybody should have been trained a little bit better and everybody should understand that, what you're doing, this is people's largest transactions that they'll ever have and maybe be a little bit more serious about it. So I think getting through that and deciding to stay in this industry, I think helped me propel me to the next level. You can't always just bail when it gets hard, right? Things get hard and people that succeed go through the hard times as well as the good times.
And then what kept you going when things weren't going the way you wanted?
I didn't want to be a quitter. That's pure the bottom line. I don't know if that's something internal that I have or that other people have, but I just didn't want to quit. I felt that I was good at it. I felt that I understood loans. I felt that this industry wasn't going anywhere, even though everybody else around me was saying the sky is falling. And, I saw a mass exodus of people just leave the industry. What that did for me was go, well, if you make it through this, inevitably it's reciprocal. It's going to come back. You'll be on top. And I kept that in my mind when I was sitting in a one-person office cold calling old call list for, 18 months trying to make money.
That's a good story. I think it's you got to persevere, right? You can't quit. The second things don't go your way, if you quit, you just keep going left and right all your life and you won't go anywhere. So
I think that what you just said was 100% right. How many friends do we have that they jump from one industry to the next, to the next, to the next, and it goes back to my 10,000 hours. How are you ever going to be really, really good at something if you keep doing that?
Yeah, very good point. And on that note, talking about, continuing, if we look at the next 5 years, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's a tough one, I know, because, most people don't know where they're going to be in 5 weeks. So 5 years is tough enough, but, it's just an idea.
Obviously, I'm still going to be doing loans. I'm still going to be doing VA loans. As far as VA goes, historically, VA loans have been about 3 to 5% of all mortgages. And as of late, in the last 6 to 8 months, it's been 12% of all new mortgage originations. And that's pretty much the highest that has been in the last 25 to 30 years, if not ever. We have more veterans home now that the Afghan war is over and all the stuff in the Middle East. Everybody's coming back, and we have more veterans at home since World War II. So that being said, the outlook for my industry, or at least my little niche of it, is looking great, I think, So, I have the intention, and this is something that I came up with when I started just doing VA loans and just becoming an expert at that, was I just want the veteran to get the best deal, whether that's with me or someone else. And I don't mind telling somebody that sends me, hey, look at this. No, that's a better deal than I can give you. You should take it. And they're blown away. They are absolutely blown away that I would turn down business and not try to sell them something, because as long as I'm trying to get you the best deal, then we got no worries at the end.
Integrity is so important, and so few people actually consider it. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
What on that note, we talked about 5 years, what you're going to be doing, but in the meantime, even though this looks like it's pretty going on its own, what do you feel the best way will be to continue to market yourself?
I think you brought up integrity. I think that's good. I always tell everybody I'm a straight shooter. I don't want to waste your time, and I certainly don't want to waste mine. We don't have an infinite amount of time in a business day. So I think, continuing to do things like this to get my footprint out there, my social footprint, and then to continue to just do a good job with the people that I have. One thing that if I can pass on to any listeners or anybody else is I always pick up the phone. I never let anybody not be able to get a hold of me. And I think that perpetuates me with other people that they talk to, other people that they work with, and that word of mouth advertising by going, hey, you know what, that guy always picked up the phone and always answered my questions. Or at least I said, hey, if I don't know the answer, I'll find out for you and I'll call you back. That is worlds above what everybody else does. And I think that separates me from most.
Yeah, they say nowadays to be extraordinary, you just got to be ordinary.
Yeah, right. It's do the simple things. I always tell everybody this too. It's like I use the KISS method that I learned in 8th grade. Keep it simple, stupid. It doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. Just do what you're supposed to do. Deal with the person like you would want to be dealt with. Pick up the phone, answer the questions, and be an expert. That's it.
Nice. Going back to what it is you do specifically, there are misconceptions out there in working with independent mortgage lenders. What would be the biggest misconception or myth people have working with a lender?
I think people call up with the misconception that we're going to try and pull something over on someone, right? I don't have this big name that's J.D. Power and Associates, advertisement saying that I've been certified to this, that, and the other. So I think that the biggest misconception about working with an independent mortgage broker is that when you call me, you think that I'm up to no good when I'm not really. And I think if people can just understand that, and a lot of it falls on them. And them being apprehensive or not knowing the correct questions to ask. And the other person on the other line may or may not be inviting to that. I'm not trying to railroad somebody into something. I want you to be fully knowledgeable of what you're getting yourself into, and I expect you to ask questions. I still tell my clients, hey, you know what? There's no stupid questions. Just ask me, and let's get the answers. That way, I'll break it down as elementary as you can understand or as we need to help you understand the process. I mean, I have people that have bought 5 to 10 homes in their lifetime and still don't understand all the intricacies of that. Sorry about that.
Nice. Well, actually, if we bring this to a more of a realistic example, let's say hypothetically, if a family member that lives on the other side of the country was thinking about getting a VA loan, what type of advice would you give to them? What should they look for or do to make sure they get the right person to work with them?
Don't be scared. Don't be scared of the loan process. It's not that overwhelming, and it's not in a foreign language. You have to be completely comfortable with the person you're dealing with. And, if you ask questions to that person and you're not getting the correct answers or it's just not clicking with you, then maybe that's not the right person that you should work with. They should be able to explain it to you in words and language that you understand and make it as simple, geez, I'm messing this one up, and make it as simple as possible for you to understand the process, what you're getting yourself into, what you will be signing at the end. And that goes to every aspect, returning the application, what the disclosures are going to look like. Do I know what all the disclosures say? Can I answer that question when I don't have them in front of me? That's the things that, the person on the other end of the phone or the person that you're sitting in front of, you should be comfortable with asking them whatever question it is based on this being the biggest financial transaction of your life.
And right now, what do you see the most common questions are that your clients ask you?
For me, I deal in 11 states. One would be, how do we make this happen when you're in California and I'm in Pennsylvania or I'm in Colorado or wherever? And then, obviously, how much does it cost? And then once again, we kind of go back to, well, is that it? Or, are you putting something over on me? Is it really that easy? And I go, yes, it's really that easy. And here's the cost. I'm the type of guy that gets it right out to you and says, here it is. You decide whether it's financially feasible for you. And if you want my opinion, I'll give it to you. If you don't, you'll never hear from me again after that.
Well, to wrap up, do you have one piece of advice for our listeners to be successful in getting a VA loan?
I think if I had one piece of advice, do your research. There's enough information out there. It's not like it was 10 or 15 years ago on what you're looking for. What are you looking to get out of the transaction? Is it purchasing a home? Is it the specific payment? Know how that stuff kind of works. At least have an idea of how it works and what you're looking to get out of it. I think so many people call in and just expect things to be handed to them without doing any background research. So if I can give any piece of advice to anyone, and I do from time to time, it's just know what you're looking to get out of the transaction. And if you can do that, then you can ask pertinent questions and you can make an educated choice in the end.
Awesome. Now, how can our listeners learn more or get in touch with you?
Hey, call me at 800-299-5390, or you can visit our website at va-streamline.com.
All right. That was awesome, Penny. I really, really appreciate your time and all the little tips you gave us. This is going to be great for our listeners. So once again, a huge thank you, and then we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate your time as well, sir. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.